background? What is that, like
It's
diamonds? What is that?
it's all the gold beautiful. Yeah, it's a photo drop, and it represents just rich. I love it, and it makes me happy. The
Good,
sparkles, but your book backdrop makes me happy too.
good. Well, we have it. There's the D on our D on the bottom of the floor.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we've got a in the library.
Well, that's so awesome. I've been enjoying your Facebook Lives.
Oh,
I see
thank
you
you.
on. Yeah, it's so great to see you live. So we are live on Facebook, and I'm going to restream this. Everybody else is going to be live with us as well.
Great.
So you're our first speaker, and then I'm going to restream it. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
kicking off our Rich Queen Manifesting series, Embody Your Power to Create Money, Love, and Wealth. And as soon as I started putting this together, you were one of the first people that I thought of. I mean, you've impacted me so much. You've impacted lots of people know you from the movie The Secret. I knew you before that. You were already impacting me. I went through your breakthrough experience, and you really taught me that just one shift in an idea or the way of seeing things can literally have your world shift immediately, not just in theory, but like real money in the bank account and all that. So I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So we'll dive in. Can you tell us just a little bit about you and your start in this work? I know you've got a crazy obsession with what you do.
Well, about well, this last week was 48 years of teaching,
Wow.
so I've been doing it a
Wow.
while.
You
And
don't look old enough to be doing it for 48 years. You started when you were
well,
2. Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm 66, and
Oh,
and I've been doing it a bit, and I love it, and I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing, so I do it every day. And I was told when I was in first grade that I would never be able to read, never be able to write, never be able to communicate, never amount to anything, and never go very far in life. What a perfect start. So I can look back and I can go, thank you, teacher, because that void eventually became, value of mine. And here I am. So I just, they say if you keep doing something long enough, everybody else dies out and you end up somewhere. So you just got to keep doing it. Well,
yeah.
I love researching about anything to do with maximizing human awareness potential and sharing that with people. So that's what I do every day.
I I love it, love it, love it. So you have a story. I titled this interview, or you titled it after whoever titled it, when I said I'd love for you to talk about owning your wealth and owning your worth, by creating balance. And some of the stories that came up for me that were like an immediate shift is the woman who wanted to have wealthier clients. And so I'd love for you to share that story and also help us understand, like, how can we apply that now? Why does it matter?
Well, everybody has a set of priorities, a set of values that they live their life by moment, things that are most to least important in their life. It's sometimes called the value structure or hierarchy of values. And whenever we are doing actions that are aligned and congruent with what we value most, we elevate our achievements, elevate our self worth, expand our space and time horizons. We build momentum and we magnetize more opportunities because we're more authentic
Mm,
and we're more objective and equitable in our sustainable fair exchange approach. So we end up having more growth in our business. And when we do, we're more reflective. And many people don't give themselves permission to live by design, by priority. They're kind of putting fires out all day long, and they're not necessarily taking command and delegating lower priority things to other people that would love to do it and getting on with the things that are truly most meaningful and inspiring to them. And when they don't do that, and when they live by lower values, they devalue themselves. And so the world around them does. So to have a more wealthy, uh, functioning life, it's important to prioritize. Now, one of the exercises that I found very helpful also is taking the people that you really look up to and that you admire, that have done extraordinary things, and asking yourself, what specifically is the trait or the behavior that they display that I admire? And really narrowing it down. It could be their determination, it could be their clarity, it could be their persistence, it could be their prioritization, it could be that they package themselves well. I don't know what it is, but you do. And then go and look inside, where are you displaying and demonstrating that in your own life, in your own form, not their form, but your form. And owning what you see in the people you admire. The moment you do, you're not thinking, well, they have something I don't, I need to become somebody I'm not. You get to realize that you already have whatever you think is missing in your life, in your own values, in your own form, but you may not be honoring because you're infatuated with theirs and not honoring your own. And that's like a cat trying to climb a tree, trying to swim like a fish when it's designed to climb a tree. It's comparing itself to somebody else, and they're beating themselves up.
Yeah.
But the moment you own the traits of the greats, I call it,
Traits of the greats.
Yeah, you realize that what you see in them is inside you, and it's not missing. And then you realize, whatever they've done, I'm already doing. I'm capable of doing it. I just haven't honored it. And you leveled out the playing field. And when you do, instead of subordinating to them and injecting their values and confusing the clarity of your own mission, you give yourself permission to share your unique mission and value it and live by priority, not subordinating. And when you do, your self-worth goes up, and your willingness to enthusiastically share the message and mission and vision that you have goes up. And you're more likely then to attract opportunities that you could see when you're subordinating to somebody. So we're not here to live in the shadows of anybody. We're here to stand on the shoulders of giants and go do something amazing. And that raises our self-worth.
Yeah. Well, I love this because there are two stories that still stand out to me majorly. One deals with love and one deals with money. And one is and start on whichever you want if you feel inspired, because this shows how what you're talking about really can be applied and shifted. Let's start with the love one. I love that one. And you know, where the woman,
I'm not sure which one you're
okay, sorry, the woman who she was dating like 5 different duds. They weren't her studs, but she really wanted soulmate love, and you helped her realize like how to I don't want to take the story away.
Well, I don't know if this is the story, but is this Tina by chance? Tina?
Maybe.
I don't know.
We'll go with whatever. Let's tell Tina.
Let me share a fun story. I'm flying from Houston to Las Vegas to do a presentation to a group of doctors there. And I get on a plane, and I'm running a little bit behind, so the plane is pretty full, and I walk on almost last. And there was sitting next to me, a beautiful, probably 27, 28-year-old blonde girl, very pretty girl. And I think flying next to somebody that's attractive always makes the flight a little better.
Yeah.
but anyway, and I said, "Hi, I'm John." And she says, "Hi, I'm Tina." And I said, "Tina, what do you do?" And she said, "I work for MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas, and I do hair and makeup for the celebs and things." I said, "Fantastic. What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I travel around the world speaking. I'm going to be speaking at that location." And I said, so Tina, what's your dream? What are you working on in life?" And she said, "I'm looking for my soulmate." And I said, "Oh, fantastic." I said, "How would you like to meet your soulmate today?" And she kind of looked at me like,
confident.
I said, "How would you like to meet your soulmate?" And she goes, "What exactly does that mean?" She was a little taken.
She's like, "Are you my soulmate?" Yeah, go ahead.
I said, well, actually, that I wasn't coming on to her.
I know, but she might have been like, "Well, what do you mean by that?"
She probably didn't think I don't know what she thought, but anyway.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to hit on her. I was just trying to ask her if she'd like to meet her soulmate, because I have helped find that. And anyway, she said, what exactly does that mean? I said, well, it's just about asking you some questions about what you're looking for in a soulmate. And she goes, oh. I said, so what exactly are you looking for? She goes, well, I'm looking for somebody that's really intelligent. And so I'm like, I write it down on this little jacket that you put the ticket in and the boarding pass in. And I said, okay, highly intelligent. Okay, great. What else are you looking for? Great sense of humor. What else are you looking for? Ambitious. What else are you looking for? Somebody that's got, achievements and wants to be in a relationship, but also a high achiever. Okay, ambitious, kind of same thing. And we listed 22 different items that was on her mind. And most of them are pretty typical that a woman would list. I mean, they're pretty expected.
You think we're typical?
Well, no, there's a few variables, but these are pretty standard.
All right. Okay.
You don't want an ugly, undriven, guy with no cash and this kind of stuff.
Right. Got you. Bedwetter. Go ahead. Sorry.
So anyway, we listed 22 different items. And I said, all right, now that we've got what you're looking for, I said, let me just give you a little insight. Every man you'll ever get has things you like and dislike. And whatever you're striving for, the other side will come with it, the opposite. So if you're looking for somebody ambitious, there'll also be times they'll be not ambitious in things that are low in their values. I'm ambitious when it comes to studying and teaching, but not when it comes to cooking or driving.
Right.
I said, so you're going to get the other side too. So let's make a list of the opposites because you get both. And she goes, oh, okay. And we listed them down. And then I said, now, I want you to learn this principle that nothing's missing in your life. It's always present, but it's in a form that you may not be honoring.
Take that in again right now.
And I said, all right, so who is providing you very, very intelligence in your life right now? In your life, who is a highly intelligent man that's in your life that's like in your life, that's taking care of that and providing that right now? She goes, okay, my boss. He's brilliant. He runs the MGM and he is brilliant. And I really admire his intelligence. And I talk to him nearly every day. I said, so can you see you have a male that is intelligent in your life right now? And she goes, yeah, I never thought about that. But yeah, the very thing I'm looking for, I'm actually getting it. And I'm getting it on a daily basis. Yeah, okay. And what else? Well, sense of humor. Okay, so who's providing that? Well, the guy that cuts hair next to me is a gay guy. He's just hilarious. He keeps me in stitches all day long. He's got such a flair about him. Keeps me in stitches. And that's a guy that's got a sense of humor that I have in my life nearly every day. She goes, I've never thought about these questions. Good. And ambition. Well, that's back to my boss. He's, running a major hotel and he's got a vision to do it. And he's da-da-da-da-da. And we went through all 22 of the admired and not so admired, the opposites, and found out who's providing all of them. And sometimes the same individuals with both, and sometimes just different people. Until it was quantitatively equal to what she envisioned. Because I kept making a list of more people, because some of them took 5 names to get, okay, now that's equal to what I was imagining.
Okay.
And when she saw everything was in her life, she goes, I've never asked this question, never even looked, didn't even think to look, that I'm manifesting everything I want in a variety of people, just not in one guy. And I said, exactly. And I said, I'm going to give you an insight about relationships here. It says nothing's ever missing. It's oscillating between one or many, but it's never missing. And if you've been wounded by one, you'll diversify it into many to protect yourself from being trapped by one. And if it's been wounded by many, you'll put yourself into one. There's always somebody you meet that can go right into a new relationship really quickly, and others that take years, and they say they want a relationship, but it seems like it's not happening. And I said, so first of all, do you see that everything you're looking for is in your life? She goes, yeah. The moment you're not desperate and you see you already have abundance of it, that's the first step. Because if you're desperate, you turn people away. But if you realize you already have it, you're empowered and you're in selection. She goes, okay, cool. I said, now, and she turns to me and she says, well, would I ever get it in one guy? I said, no, they don't make those. They don't make those. You're going to have one for maybe part of this, and you're going to have friends that are going to take on these other parts. And don't ever, it's the law of the one to many. When you're dating the many, you're always looking for the one. And when you got the one, you're always wondering about the many. It's always, you always got the one in the many. It's part of the game. And so she goes, never thought of that either. And I said, so right now, the reason why you have it diversified into a variety of people is because you're protecting yourself from some of the pains of being with one that you've had in your life. So let's make a list of the men that you've been with for any duration at all that you thought maybe initially this might be the one, but it turned out not to be what you want. And let's make a list of them. How many of those are there? She said, there's 4. And I said, all right, let's go one by one through each of those. And the first guy, the most recent guy that you dealt with, that you dated for how long? She said about 3 years. I said, okay, that guy, what was the deal breaker? He was highly ambitious, highly driven, very wealthy, but a control freak. Didn't want me to work, undermining my own career. I was sacrificing what I wanted to do. I kept waiting for him, and he was busy, and I was always waiting for him. And it was kind of a control freak, and I can't deal with that control. I was losing my friends, didn't have time for my own work, didn't get to go where I wanted to go. I always have to be on call. And I said, so can you see that highly ambitious, highly financially driven guy had a downside? Yes. Okay. Now let's go and find the upside, because right now you unconsciously are protecting yourself from that.
Yeah.
And so what you got is a wealthy guy that you're working for that pays you, that gives you the time off and gives you the freedom. So you have that behavior in a form that's now not interfering with what you want. She goes, wow, I never thought about that. I said, no, you're strategic. It's all unconscious, but it's manifesting.
That gives me chills. I've heard that it gives me chills. Keep going. Yes, sir.
So anyway, so she realized, crap, that's really true. I really made sure that I got that guy. And now I think about it, he sent me off on a trip on a vacation to Hawaii, which is like amazing. He helped me get a new car. It's just like he's part of my boyfriend. I said, exactly. You've manifested in a form that doesn't control you, but gives you the things that you're wanting. She goes, I never, ever would have imagined that. I said, now, what's the benefit of that first guy? Because as long as you got a wound with that first guy, you're going to protect yourself and diversify it, because you don't want to go back and be trapped again.
Yeah.
So I went in there, I went through and neutralized all the pains she had. What was the benefit of that? Benefit of that? I had only a 3-hour flight. Benefit of that, benefit of that, benefit of that. And we cleared that until she had tears of gratitude for that experience and realizing what that guy brought her, because she never really appreciated part of that. She appreciated some of it, but not all of it. And now she was like, I don't have to be fearful of that all happening. I win out of that. Then we went to the next one and the next one, because she had another guy that was super hot. I mean, she said she would have orgasm just looking at the guy. I mean, it was that hot. And so she was just super, super inspired by looking at him, but kind of like no matter, he couldn't keep a job.
Yeah.
Just perfect body, perfect lover, but no cash flow.
Right.
You know? And it was always like mooching off her and staying at her place, this kind of thing. And she's like going, I don't want to take care of a boy,
Right.
So then I went and neutralized all that. And I said, so now who's the good looking guy in your life? And she goes, well, now I think about it, when I really need a guy, a trophy, I call him and I ask him not to say anything, just to show up, just to be there.
Yeah.
So she's still using that guy without realizing it, only for the looks, for going out to social functions. Yes. But no sleeping, it's just like, we're not sleeping, we're just going out socially. And he's still available for that, because as long as she goes for just a thing like that, she'll pay for the night, and it's perfect for her.
Right.
So she realized she had that, and I went in there, neutralized that, and saw the perfection of that. We went through all 4 of her men and neutralized it until there was no anxiety, because as long as you got a wound there, you're going to unconsciously want to avoid that and try to get that same upside without the downside. And you'll diversify it into a variety of people like that to protect yourself. So I went in there and I neutralized all that, and we started to land, and I ran out of time to do any more. And anyway, so as a result of that, we got a cab, because we're going the same place. We went and got a cab, said goodbye. 3 weeks later, I gave her my card in case you ever want to check.
In case you were her soulmate, John. No,
I had
my soulmate. I know. I'm just messing with you. God.
I had my soulmate at the time.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yes.
I did. I had my soulmate. I was not looking, but I'd still like flirt and
Yeah, I'm
talk.
just joking. Yeah.
I mean, a pretty girl you'd talk to anyway. But what happens is, um, 3 weeks later, she contacted me and she sent me an email. And on the email, I don't remember the exact words. I have to go back to it, but it's something that's like, wow, can you believe it? And it's a picture of a guy from Israel who is a wealthy guy that travels quite a bit, highly intelligent, very successful in business, that met her at the place. And she got asked out, is there any way we can do it? He was respectful. It wasn't just trying to pick up, a night thing. And for about the next 3 years, I was getting occasional pictures of their travels and doing things together, etc. Then after 3 years, it just disappeared, and I don't know what happened to her. And I didn't call her and contact her. But she met this guy that ticked off the boxes because she cleared the baggage with the wounds that were associated with the things she wanted. So it moves from many into one again.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened to it. If it didn't turn out, I don't know if she went back to many. I don't know, but I didn't hear from her. But the reality is that we are unconsciously or consciously creating what we really want at all times. And we're great manifestors, but we don't realize it. We sometimes don't know ourselves and have fantasies about what we think it's supposed to look like, and then beat ourselves up or punish the guy we're with or something because they're not matching the fantasy, instead of understanding how we're creating it. And having the resilience and adaptability to see and appreciate, whether it's in one or many forms, is one of the secrets of having a adaptable, appreciative life. Because otherwise you're going to put unrealistic expectations on one individual or many individuals to provide what's already there.
Yeah, that is so powerful, and I've heard you share this because I always ask for this story, and but I learned some more elements of it today, and it's just as rich today for me as every time. And one is because a lot of times people think, well, if I'm just grateful and accept everything, blah blah blah, my life's gonna be great, hoorah. But I knew that side of it. Look at everything that you already have, and that's so powerful, really grounding in I'm rich right here, right now. I have everything. I didn't realize the side of you had her also own the counterparts of
Yep.
those lists and
Yep.
the wounds of I didn't remember that part. Because even if she was owning all those things, if the wounds were still driving her, she wouldn't have the clear space. Because even if Mr. Israel, guy from Israel showed up, or 10 of those,
She wouldn't
she
be
would
prepared.
protect herself
Yep.
and go to the many. That is so, so powerful. It's also the way you describe the one in the many. This is a different viewpoint than I've heard it
Well,
you articulate.
what's interesting is, and this is an eye opener for some people. If I walked up to you and I said, Adora, uh, you are always nice, never mean, always kind, never cruel, always positive, never negative, always peaceful, never wrathful, always generous, never stingy, always giving, never taking, always considerate, never inconsiderate, Your BS meter inside you would go, not exactly. And you could be thinking of times when you've played the other side immediately.
Yeah.
And so you would have uncertainty about you being always one side. And if I went to you and I said, well, you're always mean, you're never nice, you're always cruel, you're never kind, you're always stingy, never generous, always taking, never giving, always inconsiderate, never considerate, always wrathful, never peaceful, always negative, never positive, your BS meter would go off again. You go, no, I can think of times when I've been very nice and generous and everything else. But if I said to you, sometimes you're nice, sometimes you're mean, sometimes you're kind, sometimes you're cruel, sometimes you're positive, sometimes you're negative, sometimes you're peaceful, sometimes you're wrathful, you would immediately go, yep. Because you immediately go, yep. But we somehow get caught subordinating to a moralistic idealism of one-sidedness and thinking that perfection is one-sidedness instead of honoring the perfection of the two sides of our nature. And then what we do is we then project that onto a mate and expect them to be one-sided, which they can't be. Expect ourselves to be one-sided, which we aren't going to be. And then set ourselves up for a wound when all of a sudden the other side shows up and go, oh, I got to avoid that. And they don't realize that it's that part. We maximally grow at the border of support and challenge, the positive and negative. We need both to grow. If we don't get both, we don't grow. You know, if we get everything supported all the time, we stay juvenilely dependent. We need the challenge to make us become independent and have a balance. So when we have a relationship, a lot of time the wounds that we have are a result of these delusionary expectations about life's supposed to be one-sided, or they're supposed to read my mind and know what I want, and I shouldn't have to remind them of it, or they're supposed to live in my values, or these kind of delusions. They're living in their own values. So the unrealistic expectations that we project on people are what lead to the wounds that make us diversify the relationship into the many to protect us from those wounds. And we create the wounds in the first place by these unrealistic expectations.
And now we do this with, now I'm thinking of the second story, and I want to know if you did the same thing, because the second story that I remember is this woman who really wanted to work with the wealthy. And she ended up going through these magazine articles, I think of Forbes even, and circling and owning. But can you share that story and tell me, did you do the same thing?
I'm not sure which one it is.
Okay.
Because I can think of lots
She's
of
a financial planner, and she
the one that was wanted to capture Donald.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah.
Let me check. Well, this is a lady. I don't know if this is the one, because there's
lots. Okay. It's the one that's coming up. It's perfect.
Yeah. So I knew this lady when I was practicing many years ago. This is 38 years ago. She came into my office. She was 27 at the time, also about that age, and she was the leading broker. I mean, she was on the front cover of Inc. magazine when she was 27. So she was a real driven, go-getter. And she was highly demanding, and my staff really had to deal with her because she's used to telling people what to do. So she assumed my staff was her clients or whatever, and she started telling them what to do. And they used to say, "Well, you're not my boss. That's my boss." But she was a driven lady, and would probably castrate a man within about. In fact, I bet a guy when he went out to date with her that he wouldn't make 45 minutes without being castrated, because she was a real demander, high expectations. But she, whatever she wanted, she would go after. She was driven. So when she saw that Donald was getting broken up with Ivana, she said, "Okay, I'm going after Donald." She wanted the Donald because she wanted to be in a high-end status and this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And at that time, he was a young, vibrant guy, probably 32 years old, 33 or something like that. And so she literally hired a private investigator and found out his itinerary, and then flew up privately up there and made sure she was in every place that he was showing up, and just kept running into him trying to get his attention. Now, that would be like two poles of a magnet, two positive poles of a magnet repelling, because they're both like each other. They're both, it just wouldn't have worked.
Right.
But she was bound and determined to make him think that this is a made in heaven, a match made in heaven. And so she was demanding like that, and didn't get anywhere because she was under the assumption that she was going to get someone like herself. But as you know, you seek that which is similar, but you attract that which is opposite to make you grow. So we go around and we're looking for that what we infatuate with, but then we attract the opposite that we're unconscious of, just to make sure we learn how to appreciate the sides we're trying to run away from.
Yes.
So she kept running into guys. The only guys that would be able to put up with her are the guys that didn't have ambition, because the ambitious people would just tell her off in 2 seconds. So she kept attracting the guys that were the opposite of what she was fantasizing about. And I had this doctor. It was really funny. I had this doctor that came into my office, started working for me, that was literally a Hollywood guy. He was an actor, very good looking. Definitely, the girls would go, "Whoa!" And I think women were coming in they didn't even have health problems. They were coming in to get this guy to work on him. And she came in and she saw him, and she goes, and she flirted with him, and didn't know if he had wealth or not, because if he doesn't have at least $500 million, she's not going to date him. And but he didn't have that. But anyway, they talked to each other, and he decided to take her out. So just for fun, I took an envelope and wrote in an envelope a little letter betting how long he would last on this date.
Oh my gosh.
And I stuck it in this envelope and I said, put this in your pocket, but don't open this until 9 o'clock tonight. But put it in your pocket and you'll know what it's about. And it was my estimate of how long he'd last on this date, because almost every guy that she'd been dating didn't make it an hour.
Wow.
So I put 48 minutes.
Wow.
And 45 minutes after this date, he walks out and he comes back to the office at night. And I'm in the office and he comes in and I hear him and I start laughing. I said, you ready to open up the thing? And I said, 48 minutes. And he goes, how the hell did you know that? And why didn't you tell me? I said, because she is highly demanding and very clear on what she wants. And it's a fantasy. It's not real. There's no man out there. Now, I'm not going to give a name away, but this lady never found a man as expected. She's now 65. Wow. Never got a guy. I've known her. I've watched her all these years. There's no man that would live up to it because she had a complete unrealistic expectation and fantasy and a demanding and one-sided human being. And there is no such thing. If you're looking for a relationship to love, you won't love somebody if you're not willing to handle both sides of them. And she was never been able to handle both sides. So what she did is her clients are extremely powerful guys with extreme wealth, with extreme power. And she gets to play the role of the wife by telling them what to do with all their money. So she's got it and doesn't realize it and still won't hear that. She still has this idea that there's going to be this guy that's going to do it. But she's actually got what she wants. And then because she wants that power and that wealth, she's put it in that form just to make sure it never comes in the form that she's married to. It's interesting to watch. So I can't emphasize more how important it is to be real to yourself about what you really are looking for and grasp what's real, what's possible, and not what's delusional.
Yeah. That's huge, and it shows both sides, and really working with the wounds and the unconscious as well. And accepting what is actually there. So the story that I was thinking of, and maybe it'll trigger it, was a woman who was, I think, in the finance industry, but she was not earning the amount of money that she really wanted to earn. Maybe she was just working with little, I don't know what the moderate income financial planning, but she really wanted to work with the wealthy. So you sat with her and had her, I think you did a few with her, but you had her go and own these characteristics. Is it true?
Okay.
Or
maybe,
the idea?
Maybe this is, I don't know.
It's all right, as long as
there's another lady who's in Australia who I just had on my program the other day. I've known her for 25 years. So this lady was in Australia. Maybe this is a story. I don't know because there's lots of.
It's okay. I'll take the new ones too.
She was a consultant, and she worked for sometimes Boston Consulting Group, sometimes McKinsey Corporation, but she was an independent consultant that would be used on projects. And she came to my Breakthrough Experience program, the signature program I do, and she wrote down what she wanted to do as a mission, and she decided I'm gonna start building my company, and then my own company, not just working for outside, but I'm gonna build my own consulting. And so she decided, and then she came to my next level program, my 7-day program on leadership. And there she just really expanded her view. And she made a decision that was way bigger than what she thought. And it's paid off enormously. So what she did is she first wrote down that I want to play and I want to do consulting for the leading Fortune 100 CEOs in Australia.
This is it.
Okay, no, so she's an amazing lady. Her name is Barbara. I won't give it last name, but so I said to go and write down, first of all, research the names of these people, which she had really easily, and go and start making a list of every behavioral trait that you admire and dislike about these leaders. And then what I want you to do is see if you can't create a spreadsheet of all the things that you admire and dislike about these leaders, and find the common threads to them and everything else, and let's own them. So the first person on the list was Rupert Murdoch. The second was Kerry Packer, because Rupert at the time was in Australia and was the wealthiest man. Packer was right underneath him. And I think then it was John McFarlane, and there's a bunch of leaders in companies there, Westpac Bank, F&B, not F&B, another banking service, Onsback or whatever it is. But anyway, so we went there and she owned all those traits. She went through there and identified where she owned every one of those traits in her life, so it wasn't missing. Because when you do, you put yourself on the same playing field as them. Mm-hmm. And it took her 3 months just to finish that exercise with Rupert Murdoch, because he had 17 billion and her net worth was 700,000. So she had a long way to go. And we had to go in there and find out, where does she have $17 billion worth of assets? And we finally found it. We found it in her intellectual property, because when she would consult with a company, she would take companies from 50 million to 200 million, 400 million, a billion, with all her knowledge. So we started packaging her knowledge and intellectual property into the dollar value that it added to companies. And she realized she's sitting on $1 billion worth of assets just in her intellectual property. Then she looked at her social contacts, and she realized that she knows a lot of contacts, and she's gotten people job opportunities and helped them build big companies. So we went around the wheel of life and found out where all our assets that were hidden, until it totaled up 17 billion. And when she did, and she owned all the traits, it took 3 months of work. And she started going down the next one. In 3 years, 39 of the 100 Fortune CEOs she had as clients.
Whoa.
In 3 years.
Wow.
She got a couple of the big ones. They started letting the other ones know, because they were in different industries. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let anybody about the same industry, but they'd let people know about other industries. It got to be a small circle at the top. Now, her net worth right now is around 40 million. It's not a billion, but it's about 40 million. But that's a significant jump in those years from 700,000 by playing in a bigger league, because she owned the trait of these greats and leveled the playing field, and was no longer intimidated by them, no longer put them up on pedestals, and could confront them and tell them what to do and guide them as a consultant. And once you level the playing field, opportunities come. I did this exercise on Stephen Hawking. I wrote a textbook on cosmology. I know it sounds kind of bizarre, but I write on all kinds of things. But I wrote a big textbook, 2-volume set thing on cosmology and astrophysics. And during the time I did that, I studied everything about Stephen Hawking, and I did the trait, Own the Traits, the Greats on Stephen Hawking.
Wow.
And really knew his life and read every big piece of literature and everything else, and knew his cosmology, knew his theories, knew his principles. 7 months later, I was in London doing a program there, and I got invited to do an interview with CNN, a correspondent there. And after the interview, she says, you know what, I'm doing a documentary film on a dozen people that are making a difference in the 21st century. Would you be willing to be in my film? And I said, I'd love to be in that film. And I said, who are some of the other people in it? Well, she said, the first thing she said is Stephen Hawking. We were able to film him before he died. And then she said Robin Williams before he died. We got Anthony Quinn and his son, his family. Before she had already done him before, because he had died earlier. We got Tom Ford, and she lists these 12 people, and I'm going like, wow, this is like a gift. But I know that the resonation as a result of doing that exercise brought the opportunity to get in that movie with Stephen Hawking.
I have chills again.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. I got stories and stories of people that have used this tool to upgrade where they position themselves in life. Because the truth, at the essence of the soul, nothing's missing in you.
Yeah.
At the level of the existence of your senses, you think they're missing. And the reason you think they're missing is because you're too proud or too humble to admit what you see in others inside yourself. And as long as you disown parts, the hero or the villain, you're not going to live at the highest level. Because you got to own your hero and villain if you want to go to the top. If you try to be only hero, you're not going to be because every time we find people that are healers, we find there's villains inside them. There's always both.
Found that in myself this year. Yeah, at a new level.
Yeah, you got to own both sides of yourself. I'm not a nice person or a mean person. I'm a human being with both sides, and I can play out both sides when I need to. So if you're not willing to embrace both sides of yourself, whatever side you're unwilling to own, becomes the block and your growth. You got to own it all.
That is huge. Okay, one moment. I want to pause. So, those of you watching now, Dana and Laura, you're in the room. Feel free to pop a question in the chat. We are in the beginning. This is a pre-party with Dr. Demartini in the Rich Queen Manifesting series. And one of my favorite, most brilliant minds of all time. Many of you have seen him in the movie The Secret, and some of you have seen him in other places as well, many of you. We're going to have a gift for you today with Dr. D, and I will put that in the comments. And as we go forward in Rich Queen, the other Zooms will not be live on Zoom. You will have to register. It is free. And there'll be a Zoom room where you'll get to interact with the speakers. But today I was going to live stream it later, and I thought, why not? Why not, like, let's let it be live so people can see it. So do you want to say anything about the gift, Awakening Your Astronomical Vision? I wrote it sideways, so I had to read it. Yeah, astronomical vision. Yeah.
Well, I was in South Africa a few years ago. It was in Johannesburg. And I got asked to speak to a YPO group, a Young Presidents Organization. And what that is a group of business leaders that have reached a certain status in accomplishment. And they join together, kind of like a mastermind gathering, that they get together and they help each other. And it's a great group. And so this particular chapter invited me to come and speak and address them. And I think there was around 75 individuals there that ran companies, large companies. And we decided to call it Awakening Your Astronomical Vision, because they wanted to take their vision to on a bigger global level. Even though they were already playing big, they wanted to play bigger. And so we did the program live in a planetarium.
Wow.
We played amazing footage of astronomical horizons.
Wow.
And then the presentation I gave was really, I think it was one of those inspiring nights that you're on. And it's about giving yourself permission to step out of a small box into a greatness. And it's about the steps on how to break through where you are to where you want to go, and how to have an astronomical vision so you can make a global effect. And I'm absolutely certain that whoever gets this is probably going to watch it more than once or listen to it more than one time. I've had people call me and said, this is my 7th and 6th time I've listened to this thing.
I can't wait to watch it.
I need to hear this again, because it's a metaphor for what you want to play. And there's nothing in it that you can't live by. It's practical, but it's just something that not everybody thinks about. And it's so, all I know is that if there's any way you will just quickly go and download that, I feel certain that you will say thank you for that, listening to that, because it will be a value. Because I don't know of anybody that's listened to that didn't say thank you so far. So you may be the first, but I haven't seen it yet. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna say thank you, because it was a very inspiring night. And these individuals that already had big companies as it was were humbled and inspired by the content. So take advantage of the opportunity. It's a free download. I don't know, you have the listing or what they.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the copy here, and then we'll also have a speaker page with all the gifts that come with this. It'll be there. I'm gonna send follow-up emails. I know how it's really interesting how one idea can really shift everything. Like the story you gave of this woman receiving, I already have everything. It's right here, right now. And that moment, she was already just in gratitude, not looking for this guy to come in because she was so full, and she'd worked with the wounds with you, and then boom. And the same thing with money. I think anyone can apply this, but here's the deal, and what I love so much about the gift that you're offering is that if you don't have a vision that really aligns with who you are, and you talk so much about that, taking on other people's visions by having them on pedestals, but if you have a vision that aligns with who you really are, then the inspiration to take action,
spontaneous,
no matter. Yeah,
that's crucial. when I was 14 years old, I don't know if this is a bit of a side tangent, but
let's do it.
I was 14 years old, and it's my parents dropped me off on the freeway on Interstate 10 outside of Houston, Texas. And I wanted to go to hitchhike to California. I wanted to go surfing in California and make my way to Hawaii. And my parents were pretty cool people. And they knew that I had learning problems and speaking problems and everything else. And they knew that I wanted to go ride big waves. So they dropped me off on the freeway. I had $13 in my pocket. They dropped me off on the freeway and said, go live your dream. Go, whatever it takes, go surf. And they gave me this notarized piece of paper saying, I'm not a runaway. I'm a young boy with a dream. And so if the police picked me up, they'd go, okay. And they had a telephone number to call my parents and everything. I had really cool parents.
Wow.
So I went out and I hitchhiked to California. I finally get to California. It takes a few days to get there. And the very first night, I'm sitting on the tip of my surfboard, looking out at the waves, about to go surfing. And all of a sudden, this beautiful girl is 27. I keep running into 27.
Oh, that's your number, 789. What is that? Is 9 your number?
9, yeah.
Let's go.
So this beautiful girl, I'm 14 now, this beautiful girl comes up and she says, are you a runaway? And I said, well, not exactly. I'm not running away, but I'm here at the beach. She says, well, where are you staying? And I said, well, I'm staying here on the beach. Well, you can't stay here after 10. There's a curfew here unless you go down to the cliffs. I said, well, I guess I'll go down the cliffs. So she said, well, do you need a place to stay? And I said, I looked up and I went, yeah. I wasn't going to pass.
Wherever you are, I'm going.
This is 1968. This is free love day.
It doesn't matter what year. I know there are men going, I would have done the same thing.
I'm 14 years old, and she asked me where I needed a place. And so I walked with her to her place, which is a few blocks away. And she said, look, just put your stuff here. I'll wash your clothes. I'll cook you some meals. Go take a shower. I'll meet you back here in 30 minutes. Like, this is like a mom of moms, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. We have this incredible conversation.
Right.
And afterwards, we talked till about 9 o'clock. And I was a little bit tired because I'd been hitchhiking for a few days. And I got to sleep upstairs in the waterbed, on a waterbed up in an attic. So I had to walk up these steps and go up there and sleep in this thing. I heard her tinking in the kitchen and cleaning up. And then she came up the thing and made love with me. Now this is illegal today, but this was amazing back then. So anyway, so I made love with this lady.
It's amazing back then when it was legal. It's probably still amazing for most.
But anyway, so I'm in this like, whoa, this is like amazing. She's beautiful, right? And we have this amazing relationship. But I found out that she was married and her husband took her son away. He was wealthy and she didn't have a way of making money. So she's trying to make bathing suits and selling them on the beach to make enough money to get her son back. So I took the father's age and the son's age, added them together, divide by 2, and it was my age. I took my mother's age and my average girlfriend age, add them together and divide by 2, that was her age.
Wow.
And I realized that I was playing a role of her son by cooking and cleaning, and her husband by making love. And she was playing a part of my girlfriend and my mom, and that nothing was missing, it was changing form. And that was a big realization as a hitchhiker, that nothing's missing. When I moved out of that house.
Wait, did you have that realization at 14?
Not in that term, but I saw that everything was taken care of.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and I didn't really get it all yet. But then I left her, and because she was trying to get her son back, and I went down and slept behind the Golden Bear. And the Golden Bear was a nightclub where they had.
Can I just say this is like a movie right now? This is a movie. Okay, keep going.
So I'm sleeping behind the Golden Bear, which is on the Coast Highway, right at Huntington Beach, 1968. And B.B. King is playing. And so he comes out, eats pretzels and nuts with me in the back as I'm sitting, crashing out on a pallet in the back of this place. And I'm meeting these amazing people. So all of a sudden, people my father's age, and the girls working in there were my mom's age. They came out and brought me food and brought me something to nibble on and made sure I was okay and checking up on me. And I watched the new mother and father show up. And I watched this girl on the beach that was like a sister kind of become friends and introduced me to all these girls like my sister used to do. And so by that one, I started seeing that, wow, my family's changing form. And
Wow.
then I got a job at Jack's Surf Shop, which is about a block in. And there was a lady there that was making sandwiches in this kind of smoothie sandwich place at the surf shop. And Jack became like the father and the woman became like a mother. And all the chicks were coming in there and it was like, you know, the girlfriends. And I watched it morph throughout that summer, all of the family dynamics. And later that summer, I hitchhiked down to Mexico and through Mexico. And I got picked up in a BMW Volkswagen van with a man my dad's age, a woman my mom's age, and a girl that was my sister. So it was like, and I watched this morph throughout my journeys. And it really gave me a realization to not worry about anything missing. And so when I went and started pursuing the question of the conservation of all traits in life, that nothing's missing, it's just morphing form. I had that in the roots, starting at age 14, of watching that morph. And now I've done it with thousands of people, and I can demonstrate it, and I can prove it to people over and over again. And it's an eye opener because they're coming. People come from the idea, well, my mother wasn't there for me, and I missed a mother, and my father was gone, and no.
How do you feel about that idea? You hear it in your voice. Well, my mother. Yeah.
I call these whiny,
Yeah.
this whiny stuff that people go, I'm a victim of my history. No, when your mother wasn't there, who became a mother figure? Oh, my teacher, my best friend's mom. Yeah, I had a coach that played out kind of like a mom role. And when I think about it, I started dating an older girl who had a mom that I was friends with. And then once you start putting the puzzle together, you realize that everything is conserved through time and space, only morphing in form. And the individual who's resilient enough to honor the forms and see it is the one that's liberated and adaptable and empowered. And the person that's holding on to the forms and attaching to the forms, like the Buddha says, don't attach to the forms. The things you infatuate, you fear the loss. The things you resent, you fear the gain of. And you're living in phobias instead of adaptabilities. So teaching people that, to me, is a primary basic principle that can make a difference in somebody's life. That's why those questions about the relationship, that has tremendous application.
It's so powerful. I have more questions. I can't stop, but I will. I mean, it's 4:50, and I want to honor your time. But I would need to have you back again when I do the January, February, because I just think this is so important. And around, it absolutely has implications on what we're willing to receive in wealth, in skill, in talent, in children, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, nothing's missing. I have a program that I teach called Where's My Billion? And I make an individual sit for a solid day and find out where their $1 billion worth of assets are.
Oh, I want to attend that next one.
That is a mind blower, because what it is some people store their wealth in intellectual property, like myself. I have financial independence. I've got a lot of wealth financially, but I also have it in intellectual property. Mm-hmm. In fact, Nightingale Conan is packaging my library and going to turn that into more cash. So what's interesting is that you're not missing your wealth. It's just in forms you're not honoring, because your hierarchy of values dictates the form of your wealth. So if you have a very high value on your children, then if I was to say, I'll give you $10 million to your child, you go, no way. Because that's worth 10, 20, 50, 100 million, $1 billion worth to that child. Now you might get the child for $1 billion and say, I'll start over. I'll take the $1 billion.
Oh my God.
Depends on if they're teenagers, But
right.
The point is your assets are always based on what your values are. And they total up to your $1 billion, but you don't realize it until you ask that question. But it won't convert into cash and financial wealth unless you have a value on financial wealth. If you have a higher value on your family than your financial wealth, then you'll store your wealth in your kids. You'll store it in social context. You'll store it in spiritual awareness. You'll store it in intellectual property. You'll store it in social friendships. But you won't store it in financial unless you have a value on financial wealth and convert the other forms into financial cash flow. So nothing's missing. It's just in a form that is not conscious.
And it begins with that. And it sounds like I can feel it. I know it. Peace, so much peace lives in that it's here. I've got it. It's here everywhere. Whether you're looking at the past or you're looking at where you want to go in the future, it's really amazing. This has been so rich. And like I said, you brought up all these other questions and new stories. So I definitely want to do this again. I appreciate you so, so much. And we're going to post this link to, I can't wait to watch this. And the Young Presidents Organization is a huge, reputable organization. And I'm so excited that we all get to replay that. So you guys definitely grab the gift and you'll be connected to Dr. Demartini through that. I almost said just Dr. D because I don't know that I've heard that it just came up. But Dr. Demartini, anything else you want to say as we're signing off here?
It's just whatever is out there, just know that the magnificence of who you are is far greater than any fantasies you'll impose on yourself. You don't need a fantasy to do something extraordinary. Just need to honor what's inside you. It's nothing missing in there. Just go dig it out. Go discover where it is. The discovery of your magnificence is worth the pursuit.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to